My name is Hugo Bernier. I'm a senior cloud solution architect at Microsoft, and I like to call myself the world's laziest developer as well. I was formerly an MVP, but now my role at Microsoft is to help customers who have already bought licenses for the Power Platform to make the most of the platform and to use the technologies that they already have to the best of their abilities. And one of the things that I see all the time is people don't seem to know how to leverage portals. And I think historically, right, portals were maybe not priced in a way that was appealing to customers and things like that. But a lot has changed over the last little while. And it's really important to take a look at portals. And let me give you some scenarios. The first thing is, let's talk about kind of where the portals fit, right? It's a great way for you to extend the reach of your Power Platform infrastructure. So instead of having to build a separate app, to be able to, let's say, talk to your maybe your employees that don't have an Active Directory account. Like I'm thinking of, let's say, a retailer who have people on the floor, the store floor, right, or the manufacturers who have people on the factory floor who don't necessarily have an email address, but they still need to be able to have access to information. Or maybe you're dealing with partners or suppliers, or maybe we're talking about customers. Or if you're a government agency or municipality, imagine if you could actually expand the reach of your Power Apps to your constituents, right? So that I can go in and report a pothole in my street or do things like that. And that's really where kind of portals come in handy, is that it allows you to really create a secure gateway to your Dataverse environment and to your Power Apps portals, but extend the reach to way more than just your employees. Now, you can still let your employees use portals, and we'll definitely talk about that. But it's more about that power to be able to reach to a whole new audience. And so, for the Microsoft 365 conference in Vegas a few weeks ago, David, Chris Kent, and I we built a fictitious company, and we called it the Normal Company Inc. So this is totally a legit company. They say they totally don't do covert operations, and they recently expanded their operations and decided to outsource a lot of their missions. Services to independent contractors who might need to be able to communicate securely with the company, with the totally normal company. But of course, they don't want to use email because that's probably not the most secure way to do this. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to build a kind of special covert assignment management system, version 1, because one of the things that we want to do when we're building Power Apps in the Power Platform is we want to iterate quickly, right? The value of being able to work hand in hand or closely with the business stakeholders and the people who understand the business, and to iterate rapidly and say, how about this? Do you like this better? And delivering that and then innovating on that and improving on that rapidly. That's really one of the strengths here of the Power Platform. And we can definitely do that with portals. So today what we're going to do is we're going to build a quick app. Let's see how we're doing for time. Yeah, we're going to build an app that's used by the freelancers. So people who are not directly employed by the totally normal company. They are not employees. They don't have Active Directory accounts, and they don't have access to Power Apps, right? And we're not going to be inviting them as guests to our Power Apps. We want to create something that is very secure and that doesn't require us to open our internal network. Now, the first thing we're going to do as part of this app is we're going to view my covert assignments. I'm going to log in. I'm going to be able to see my assignments. And then later what we're going to do in separate sessions, we're going to continue adding more functionality. So first of all, I'm going to be able to go and mark my assignments as completed. So in other words, edit the data that's in Dataverse. I'm going to be able to learn some tips and tricks from the field, request some equipment, view my briefing dossier. So actually seeing files that are stored associated to a record in a secure way. And those files might be stored in SharePoint. We're going to upload proof of completion, and that's also going to go to a secure file. Going to rate my assignment. I have a little star system like we have on Uber for my my contractors. Submit an extensive report, RSVP to the company picnic, request to talk to a field support agent, maybe even talk to a chatbot, and request exfiltration as well as ordering disguises. Right, so pretty much giving all the tools that someone needs in their field, in this case for the agents here, to be able to actually do their job. And so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to start by leveraging existing infrastructure that we have. So the first key to building a successful portal app is to build on top of your model-driven app. And because portals use actually your Dataverse environment to store things like users, content, and things like that. So the first thing that I did here is I built a solution, right? Because we all know building a solution is a great thing to do. It makes it easy for you to deploy your solution. So my first solution I built is called the Special Covert Assignment Management System. And let's go. I've created a table that's just assignments. Let's go add some columns to that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a column to keep track of which contractor is assigned to an assignment. And I don't know if there's a better way to describe this, but that's what we're going to do. And the one thing we have to understand is when we're dealing with portal users, they're actually contacts. They're not users, because in Dataverse, a user is really intended to be an employee, a licensed user, right? So external participants are still uniquely identified, but they're identified as contacts. And so this is what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a contractor field that's going to be pointing to my contacts. If I can find contacts, there you go. I'm going to make this a required field. And we'll just put a little description here. The one thing, as you know, when you're building a Dataverse table, you always want to use the most English, well, not English, but user-friendly, human legible names for columns. Don't resist the temptation of creating column names like you would create a database system, right? Because your users are going to be able to use these names to build reports and to build forms and to build queries and things like that. All right. We're going to add a little bit more fields here super quickly. So we're going to add a deadline, right? And it's going to be a date and time. So it needs to be done by this time. We're also going to add a location. So this is where this mission should be performed. And sounds like we're making lunch. And we're also going to go add some column about whether the mission is accomplished or not. And that's going to be yes, no. Now, some of you who are Dataverse experts might say, hey, wait a minute, you should probably use the status and status reason. I agree with you, but we'll evolve that solution quickly around doing that. All right, so then we'll also go build an app, right? So now what we have to remember is in the Power Platform, we want to be able to create an app for our internal users. And so for that, I'm going to create a model-driven app. And I'm just going to call this, again, we're going to call this the assignment management system, right? So let's just quickly do that. Having issues with my keyboard today, so whatever, right? The special covert assignment systems, assignment management. And that's going to be the app that my internal employees are going to be using to manage these assignments and to manage my operatives out there and things like that. We're going to be leveraging a lot of this, by the way, for our portal, right? But it's important. This is something that I see a lot of people having difficulties with, is it's important to understand the difference between the internal app and the portal app. And what we have to think about is the portal is really just a different channel by which you can connect to the data. So here I'm going to add my assignments to my portal and to my app. So there you go. And we're also going to add my contacts, right? And we'll use the contacts later, but the contacts obviously are going to be the operatives that are going to be logging into the portal. And then I'll just clean up a little bit here. So I'll clean up the operations group. And so now I have kind of an app that I can start using, right? Now, what we'll also do is we'll go to create some forms. So let's go to my tables, my assignments, and let's go build a form here. Now, typically when you have a model-driven app, you have a form that you want to use for at least one main form, right, that you use for importing the data. And so that's what we're going to do right now. I'm just going to lay out something really quickly here. I'm not trying to make this pretty. We'll definitely improve on that later. But I'm adding all the fields that I need as a person who's managing these operations. Now, here's the trick, is that to feed your portal, one of the things you can do is you can add another form. Now, some people will share forms. You'll use the same form over and over again for both portal users and internal users. I would always recommend create a form that's dedicated, or at least one form that's dedicated for your portal. So here, I always like to call them portal, right? When I can type portal form, yeah. And then the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the fields that the users don't need to see, right, in the portal. So for example, the users don't need to see the owner. I'm going to hide it. We'll talk about it later, but it's a required field, so I can't really remove it from the form quite yet. The contractor, it's always going to be me as the current logged in user, so I don't really need to see that as well. And then maybe we can clean this up a little bit and kind of create a little section here for whether the mission is completed or not. Let's just skip forward on that because we want to get to the portal, right? All right, so now I've got my solution that's built. I've got my app. And if I launch my app, this is the app internally that that I'm going to use. Actually, I'm going to skip forward here. I'm going to go to portals right away because we're running out of time. So let's build a portal. Now, the portal is going to be built like we did a model-driven app or like we did a Canvas app. A portal, again, is just a front end on top of that data. So I'm going to call my portal here normal company assignment, maybe dev here. And then when you build your portals, you want to give it a unique address. Now, later you'll have the ability to go change the URL for your portal. But right now, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have at least something that allows us to work with that portal quickly. Now, this is the part where it'll tell you portal provisioning is in progress. This is the opportunity to go make yourself some coffee, go get your stuff from the microwave, because it's going to take a little bit of time. Because what it's doing behind the scenes is it's actually completely creating database schema in your Dataverse to support things like pages, navigation, users, portal users, and things like that. Now, luckily, I was able to record this and fast forward this for you. So now this is kind of the out-of-box portal, right, that gets created. And out of the box, you get pages and subpages, and you get the ability for you to be able to sign in and do things like that. It's kind of boring, right? Let's actually do a little bit more of that. So the first thing I can do is I can actually go and edit the portal. So now you do that through the context menu, the three dots, and you go click on edit. And here I get the page. And this is like a what you see is what you get experience. So the great thing about that is there's different sections that we can go through, and I'll quickly go through, but we'll come back at a later session where we're going to cover the other sections. So we have, the page navigation. I've got the theming that allows me to change quickly the color scheme for the portal. I got some templates, some permissions, and I can even build some PWAs for portable web apps, right, which is very cool. But let's start with just editing the content of the page itself. So let's do that. So anywhere where you see text, if it's created as a placeholder text, I can actually just go edit it as what you see is what you get experience, right? So here, I'm going to call this the normal company, yeah, there you go. Now, one of the things that you'll see later is that the portal uses reusable snippets. So there's parts where maybe the company name is probably not something we want to go and replace everywhere, right? We probably want to point to a central place where the company name is used, and that's something that we'll cover a later time. But here I can go to a section, and I can completely edit the section here. So let me just go through my section, and because this is a totally legit corporation that doesn't do covert operations, we're just going to put some nice, generic corporate imagery here. And then we just say we get the job done, right? Now, you'll notice that the color scheme is not quite there yet, and we'll come back and fix that. But the idea here is that I should be able to focus on the content, the structure, without worrying about things like cascading style sheets and JavaScript and HTML, right? Because again, this is supposed to be a maker platform. All right, so let's fast forward a little bit because we want to get to the good stuff. So I can change the color scheme here. And then let's actually go to create a page here. So I'm going to create a page that is called My Assignments. And the page, I'm actually going to mark it as not anonymous. So that means that for me to get to this page, I need to actually log in. Now, the out-of-the-box portal actually allows you to register, to redeem an invitation, so you can associate an existing contact to a link. You can connect to Azure AD, or you can register through a custom email address. So I'm just going to quickly kind of register myself here as a user. Obviously, in a real-world scenario, I probably wouldn't want my agents to be able to register themselves on the fly like this, but this is just to set up the demo, okay? So I'll register, and I can provide additional information here. Now, the one thing we could do here is we could absolutely customize that profile experience here. So I wanted to capture, what's your area of specialty as a contractor. Let's capture a field that does that. For now, I'm just going to fast forward on that. All right, now, again, let's talk about that authentication experience, because if you think about it, again, I don't really want anybody to just go into my super secret system. So this is where I can go to the settings of the portal, and I can actually override the authentication settings. And here I have the ability to pick from a whole bunch of authentication providers, and I can actually change some settings, like things like whether I want to allow people to register. It looks like it's taking longer. Register, log in with an external user ID and password, or require an email address to be unique. All right, so we'll skip that for now, and we're going to, and the thing is, as you can see, as I'm here, I'm going to go and disable some features. So for example, here I'm going to say I don't want to have Azure Active Directory enabled. My users are not going to be employees of the system. So I can actually just go here, disable that authentication. And when I go back to the portal and refresh, we're going to see that the sign-in page is actually changing accordingly. Come on. All right, let's fast forward on that. So when I go sign in, Active Directory is not coming, should not show up, right? So we can continue to expand this, but let's get to the juicy bits now. Okay, so I've got my portal. I'm going to go to edit it again. Now I'm going to go to, because remember, this portal, the goal is for me to see my assignments. And portals shouldn't allow everyone to see everything that's in my Dataverse environment. So I can go to my table permissions here, and you'll see that by default, I have permission to just provide feedback. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new permission. And I always like to call my permissions in a very, self-documented way. So I want to be able to view and update my assignments. Because remember, I'm going to be able to mark my assignment as completed. I'm going to pick the table, which is called assignments. So if I look for that, assignments, there you go. And then the access type, global access would mean everyone has access to every record. We've got contact access, which is my records where I'm associated to it. And then we've got things like account access, where I can actually view the records that are associated to me and my company. So here, I'm picking the relationship that says that this assignment is associated to me as a contractor. I'm going to say I want to be able to read and write. I could also do things like append and append to, which we'll need later when we're adding notes and attachments and things like that. And then I'll say this is only for people who are authenticated, right? I mean, it wouldn't make sense to have something like this that's not authenticated. All right, we're almost there. So once I've got this, I can actually go and let's just go create some assignments here. And let's actually, what I'm going to do is I've got a whole bunch of assignments that I've created, and I've created for different people, right? So I've got 3 assignments that are assigned to me. And then what I can do now is I can actually go to my assignments page, and the part that I skipped here, I'll come back to it, is I was able to actually drop my assignments list directly on the page where I can see that. So let me show you that. I've got 2 minutes. I can make this happen. So if I go to my one more, cool, there you go. So if I go to my assignments now, come on, you can make it happen. All right, there you go. Okay, so I've got my assignments table here that's created. I've got my solution that's built, and I got all my objects that are set up. Now, if I created a view that allows me to view more details about the assignment, the cool thing about that is when I build the view, I'm able to take advantage again of all that work that I've done in my Dataverse environment and put that into my portal, right? So this is not like a separate system. This is just a separate channel that gives me access into my Dataverse environment. All right, so if I fast forward on this, I'll add some columns here. So when it's completed, whether it's completed and stuff like that, do that quickly. And then when I go and refresh my page and I say I want to show my portal assignments instead of my active assignments, and I save that and I browse to the website, what we should see is now I have, come on, don't make me a liar. There you go. I now have my updated assignments. Now, that was super quick, right? We did that in, I mean, behind the scenes, I did this in less than an hour from nothing. Next steps, when we meet again, we're going to show you how to start editing the records, add logic to validate that people are not putting bad data, but also we're going to do things like store documents, store pictures, you know, the ability to have notes, even use things like chatbot and things like that. So if you want to get started with using Power Apps portals, you can go to this URL here. And I do have a slide on licensing if you want to take a screenshot of that. And we will definitely make this presentation available with no fast forward. Awesome. That's it for me today. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Hugo. You answered the only question that popped up in the chat that was out there. That's cool. I like how you use the video to do it. That way you leave nothing to chance. Great idea. So you said it took less than an hour for you to stand that whole thing up, brand it, and make all those different pages, put all that functionality in there that was on your slide decks, huh?
Yeah. In fact, when I work with customers, I'll often do this live with them in the space of an hour workshop. We're like, okay, let's build this, right? Mm-hmm. But again, it's about leveraging the work you've done with the model-driven apps. That's really, don't reinvent the wheel. Leverage what you've got. Focus on the value-added stuff. And that's where you're going to be able to deliver value quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a great story. Get somebody started in 1 hour, and then they can just start building on top of what you gave them, right?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Awesome. Looking forward to seeing the next part of your presentation there. Thank you.
Thank you.